Okay, guys, we're back again this week. Y'all have any questions about the stuff that we went over last week? Nothing?
I just got to figure out the W, so that's really what I want.
Yeah, those are going to be really good, guys, on those hyper keys. The ones that you're really going to use the most is W, which is the prefix suffix, D, which is delete, N, which is insert.
Use Control P when I want to paragraph it down.
P for period, Q for question mark. In the middle of a sentence, it doesn't matter if it's the beginning of the sentence, middle of the sentence, end of the sentence, it puts it at the end. Those are going to come in way handy. And then the movements, which is on your right hand, the I, J, K, L. Okay? How do you get into hyper keys?
That's print, I thought.
Yeah.
Oh.
Alt Z. And to print?
Also.
I'm going to ask you that every stinking week probably. So, I mean, these are some of the most important things. I mean, how to get into hyper keys, print, and then some of the commands in hyper keys. So, kind of get used to it. I'm pretty sure we went over this last week, but it is kind of important. And it actually does kind of tell you this is one of the most important lessons of the tutorial, and that you may want to go through it more than once. After you have done the exercises in this lesson, you can use help install lesson to get a refresh copy. So when you go through there and it says your turn, I think we've kind of gone through this. Use those things. Use those little tutorial little things and go through there and mess with it, and this way you can't really mess it up because all you have to do is just go in and install the lesson again. So it's not that big of a deal, okay? So I want you guys, and they want you to use those lessons, okay? So when it says your turn, go in there and do it, okay? But what we're going to talk about today, again, is trouble spots, trouble scans, untranslates, conflicts, unresolved conflicts, and fill in the blanks. Okay?
Eclipse offers a large number of scans as well as multi-scan for quick editing of your document. You can scan forward or backward, looking for any of several items, but the most basic trouble spots are untranslates and unselected conflicts. Here's the toolbar icon to scan to trouble spots. It will stop on untranslates, conflicts that have not yet been selected.
Okay, y'all know what these are, right? These are unresolved. Unresolved. These are conflicts. So these are things that you may write the same and you need to create a conflict for it. Okay? Really, you should write them different, but it kind of gives you some examples, and these are kind of the easier examples. I think I told you guys that, you know, I kind of do is it is, and sit all together. Okay? And it's just because I write it so fast that by the time I'm doing is it, I'm coming up with my finger on is, and I'm already doing it, and it bunches it up together, okay? So I have a conflict with that because I'm just too fast. Weird. Some of you may not have that problem. I don't know. Yeah, it is a very, very personal problem. And you're going to find that just in your writing, okay? I have that also with my endings, okay? So I started putting my endings on my words. And then like the one that I don't use the most, and I think I explained to you guys, like I do doing DOG. And my dog, I do with an asterisk because I don't hear dog that often. Okay, I hear doing every day. Every day. So the thing that you hear the most, and you don't have to do it, that's just an example of what I do, okay? And it's all about writing smarter, not harder, okay? So you want to get to the point where, you know, you're doing it, you're a little bit easier on yourself, okay? But you do what you want. If you don't have a problem with it and you want a two-stroke doing, help yourself, okay? So I'm gonna rewind it just a bit. But
conflicts that have not yet been selected, and translates, conflicts that have not yet been selected, and blanks that have not yet been filled with information. Of course, it's faster to use hyperkey T or speed key control T, as in trouble. But you may want to target untranslates only, or go just to the next conflict, perhaps an unselected conflict. There are hyperkeys for these purposes, as well as speed keys. Multi-scan automatically repeats your last scan. So if I want to quickly go through my document, correcting untranslates, or resolving conflicts, then multi-scan would be the quickest way to go through my document.
and that's how you do it, guys. I think I told you guys. If you see this thing is on, like you do U for untranslate, it's going to go to every untranslate you have. It's going to go to the untranslate, it waits for you to correct it. Once you correct it, it goes to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. That's what multi is. So if you want it on multi, Shift Control M, okay? Shift Control M puts it on multi. Shift Control M takes it off of multi. Okay, so if you don't want to do that and you want to go through the document and just resolve the conflicts as they come up, and you see that there's one coming up and you press the U and go to the untranslate and correct it, and you don't want it to go to the next one, take it off of multi. Okay?
Document. If, however, you find that Eclipse loses your place after you create a global or resolve a conflict, check to see if you haven't accidentally turned multi-scan on.
Any questions about that?
What's the difference between the hyperkey T for the trouble scan versus the Shift Control M for multi-scan?
What's the difference between the
Because
multi?
it has hyperkey T is trouble scan, multi-purpose, but multi-scan is Shift Control M.
Where do you see that?
Up at the, it's like line 8, hyperkey T, trouble scan,
It's right there.
multi-purpose.
At the very top right there, it says T, hyperkey.
Right here?
T.
Mhm.
Trouble scan, multi-purpose. That's the one that scans
Is
everything.
it the same as
That's what you have to
multi-scan,
look
Shift
at.
Control M?
The multi-purpose?
Yes.
Mhm.
That one scans everything. I thought that's what it
I
had
thought
said
that
the
was
last time.
multi-scan.
I think the other way, the Shift Control M is
No,
the
the
one.
multi is down here. Just the T will take you to just the trouble scan. Okay? Pretty sure.
'Cause that was my question after going over it, was what was the difference?
Yeah, it'll just take you to the next one. When it's on multi here is when it takes you to the next one and the next one and the next one. So the multi-scan will take you, you have to do, see, because I just fixed your, and it didn't take me to the next one. So you have to press T again. Okay?
What's the, I'm sorry, can you tell me one more time, what's the difference between a resolved conflict and a unresolved conflict?
A resolved, it'll kind of do it by itself. And an unresolved gives you the two choices.
With the,
Yeah.
and it will learn over time. I've
Yeah.
inserted 2 conflicts, and in the beginning it would always ask me, but it's learned now
how you
based on my
write.
preferences, and so
Yeah.
it'll come in green most, 90% of the time it's chosen the correct
Yeah.
option for me.
Okay. Got it? Mess around with that stuff, guys. I mean, that's what the little thing is there for. So I mean, you know, use them. You know, go to you. And you took me there. Okay? Go to T. What was the other one? T, C for conflict. And see how they're in different colors? Your different colors are going to tell you what it symbolizes, okay? And you can change the colors, and just because they're red and green here doesn't mean that they're going to be red and green on yours, okay? And we're going to go through colors and explain that in another tutorial, okay? And you can change the colors to whatever you want. You don't want to have them all the same though, okay? Then you're not going to know what you're doing. Okay, and it kind of tells you right here, you know what a trouble spot is. Okay, it's any one of these three things. That's the next trouble spot. So it can be any one of these three things: an untranslated steno, an unresolved conflict, or a form field. So you can just go on and press T, and it's going to go to every one that needs to be filled in. Okay, so if you want to go through the document and fix all of that stuff before you even start editing, help yourself. And that's the way you do it, is through T. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Mess with these things, guys. Like I told you, and you can do it right now if you want. We can take a second, and you know, kind of mess with those things. You guys are in the tutorial, right? Okay. Mess with it. I mean, you can do U, C, E will take you to a fill-in blank. I think we talked about that, where a witness's name is going to go, or a date, or the type of hearing, some kind of form-filled empty blank, empty space filled. Okay. So mess with that stuff. Even if you know you go home tonight and reopen this thing, and just kind of mess with U, C, T, and really, you know, T is kind of the easiest one because it's going to take you to these things already. Okay. So if that's what you want to do, you want to go through the document and fill in, you know, all the untranslated, all the unresolved conflicts, and all the form fills, and you just go through that document and just keep pressing T. And it's going to take you to it every time. All right? Any questions? All right, global and neutral.
Let's see how to quickly select steno strokes to perform global replacements. In global replacements, in the edit section of user settings, you'll see the option global after scan. If there's a check in that box, here's what it does. When I scan to the next untranslate, Eclipse will automatically highlight one stroke of steno for globaling. If I need additional strokes for globaling, I can simply press Ctrl G as in global. Well,
You understand what that means?
It's combining both.
Yeah. So if you go in and you change that thing in your user settings, bless you, then when you go through and fix your unresolved conflicts, unresolved conflicts, then what it's going to do is it's automatically going to come up. It's automatically going to bring it up because it's going to have your steno in it. Okay, so it's going to say this needs to be fixed. So it's automatically going to bring up a box to say what do you want in there. But it's only going to do one stroke. Okay, if you want more strokes, you do Control G, which is what you do now. So in your document somewhere, you can just do Control G. Y'all know that, right? On global, how to global something?
I think
Huh?
in hyperkeys it's just G, isn't
In
it?
hyperkeys it is G, but Control G is not in hyperkeys, or you can do Control G even if it's not, even if it is in hyperkeys. Okay, you can do Control G to do it, but yeah, you can just do G and do it right now and see what.
Do I turn it on?
What?
Or you just want me to?
No, don't mess with it. Just right there. Just right there. Just put your cursor over here somewhere. And yeah, and then do G. Oh, it's not going to track it because it's not still. Yeah, put it in there. G. And then G again. See, it only does one. See, in hyperkeys, when you push G to global, it only does one stroke. Okay? So that's the thing about hyperkeys with global. If it's only one stroke, then I mean that's fine. But it's only when you use G in hyperkeys, it's only gonna global one thing. Okay?
In hyperkeys or out of hyperkeys? I mean,
Control G.
Control G.
Control G will do it as many times as you want.
oh.
Okay? So, you know, you can, that's why I'm saying Control G is easy. And I still do it. Even if it is one stroke, I do Control G. And I forget about that hyperkey G sometimes or whatever, but I mean, I just do Control G just because it's a little bit easier for me. But I mean, you can do whatever you want, okay? And they're gonna show you right now about different ways of marking more than one.
Simply press Control G as in global. Well, what if I scan to and translate, and the steno that I need to add does not come after, but before the untranslate? Here's where the arrows come in handy. You can target steno that comes before your starting point or after it, although you can use the mouse to point and click. Keyboard commands are generally faster.
It's showing you a different way of doing it, you know? And that to me is longer, but it's another way of doing it in this little box. Okay, so if you want to add more, add more. If you want to go back, use the arrows. I mean, they're just showing you a different way of doing it, but to me it's a little bit longer, okay? So I'm going to go over that again. Do y'all have that? Did y'all get that? Okay, then I'll just back it up just a bit.
But commands are generally faster. Your keyboard's up-down arrows will add or subtract steno in front of your starting point, while Control down or Control up will add or subtract steno after your starting point. Of course, you do not have to use automatic global after scan. I prefer to use hyperkeys that make it possible to select multiple steno strokes with one button. So here, instead of having to press Control G 5 times, I can just use hyperkey 0 to catch the 5 strokes with one button.
Y'all understand that? So instead of, you know, you can only do G in hyperkeys, okay? And it's gonna global one stroke, okay? These strokes in hyperkeys, 7, 8, 9, and 0, this is 2, 7 is 2. So G is 1, 7 is 2, 8 is 3, 9 is 4, and 0 is 5. Okay? Y'all have that little table?
It's on there.
Everyone have that table? Slick? It tells you that on that table. Okay? So it's just an easier way of marking. Okay? If you know that it's 4 strokes, then just press 9. Or you can just press Control G until it marks what you want it to mark. Whatever. They're just giving you different options of what you can do, something that's quicker. So if you already know it's 3 strokes or whatever, then just do 8. Any questions about that? Have y'all looked at that table? Ace? You looked at that table? Hey, quit yelling. Don't, I'm asking a question, quit yelling. Study that table, guys. There's some very, very good things in there, okay? And we're not gonna go over all of them, but there's some good things on there, and mess with it. Even mess with it in these, you know, little tutorial things. Mess it, because if you mess with it in here and you mess it up, you really haven't. All you have to do is just go through and read that lesson in again. It's no big deal, okay? Any questions about that? Globaling intro.
Just make sure you put it in the right dictionary.
Make sure you put in the right dictionaries, correct, okay? It's always, usually always going to select the main. So you usually don't have to worry about it. What are you doing?
It doesn't work.
What?
My 7, 8, 9, no.
Because it has to have a translate.
So I'm at, right, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Right, and so 4, you do all 9.
Yeah.
Out of hyper.
No, it's not all 9. It should be, no, it's in hyper keys. Just do 9.
Okay, so,
See, it doesn't work. Or is it alt? Nope.
Get incorporated. Have you already fixed it? Have you already fixed it?
no.
It's not working.
Would you win something?
I wish.
I was trying to find somewhere where it had multiple, but that's the only place that does.
Yeah. Sure. Push 7. Do you have your function thing on? Is that what it is?
Well, you have to do, for the function, you have to hold it down and press the function.
Yeah, mine's not working either.
There it is. Shift.
And the thing is, is
Oh,
all,
no.
that's what it said up there.
Try shift.
Shift
Yeah,
F?
shift number.
Use
And you
hyper
press
G
1.
and Alt 7,
Nope,
Alt 8,
you
Alt
made
9,
symbol.
Alt 0 to create global replacements for
Nope.
untranslated steno in the following paragraphs.
Okay. It was all. But yours is shift for some reason.
Mine is not.
All 7 doesn't do it. So.
Is yours working?
No, but I know I don't want to use that way, so I'm not worried about it.
I
It
normally
just
do.
seemed more complicated.
I just do G most of the time, just keep doing G.
It's shift.
G the whole time.
Mine is shift, but
Yeah.
it's not Alt.
It's what?
It's not working for mine either, but I'm not necessarily worried about it because of how.
Or you at least want it to work. Yeah. Shift 7.
Yeah, okay. You don't press G at all?
Slip. No, because I don't know why it's not all.
Oh, so you don't press G. 'Cause it says here G and Alt 7, so just Alt 7, okay. Shift. I'm taking the side cannon, I'm feeling worse than So
Oh, I have to make a decision first. Like, actually,
That's shift. Okay, guys, for some reason, and some of the students, their computers, and it could be the computer, especially like if you have a function button on there, it should have what is that, FC or FCT? FN? FN or whatever. It may have something to do with it, I don't know. I mean, the computers act really messed up when it has that function button. So if the Alt 7 or 8 and you want to use that is not working, then try the Shift 7 or 8. Not F7, just Shift 7, number 7. Or Alt 7, Alt 8. Not F8, because it's not going to work with the Fs. It's just and don't use the numbers on your right hand side with, your right hand over here where the little numbers are on the side, where the little calculator numbers are. Don't use those. What'd you call it?
10 key.
The 10 key? Yeah, don't use the 10 key, whatever that is. No. Yeah, so don't use the 10 key, okay? So you have to use the numbers on top, okay, that are coming across. Use the numbers up here, not the numbers that are over here, okay? Sometimes that has something to do with it too. But I mean, if you don't like using the numbers, then just do the Control G. Do Control G until it works, okay? But if not, then that's an easy way to do it. And like on one of them, the Shift 7 was working. On the other, one of the other students, the Alt was working. So if one or the other isn't working, then try the other. Does that make sense? If one or the other isn't working, then use the other. And see, it tells you here, right here, use the Alt, but if it doesn't work, then use the Shift. Try the Shift. Okay? And it may have something to do with that function button. I'm not sure. I have no idea. All right? Global at a glance.
How do you say what your steno means? Total Eclipse means. Total Eclipse lets you global at a glance. Glance at the list, pick the choice. It's that easy. Ordinary CAT systems may try to use a basic phonetics table and the spelling dictionary to try to guess what you're globaling. This approach is typically not very successful and easily produces nonsense suggestions that only wind up adding steps to the globaling process.
You understand what it's saying? Sometimes it's going to guess things that aren't even close to what you're trying to get at, okay? And sometimes it's going to have it, whether it was Parkinsonian or whatever you were trying to get at. With some of these, Perican Seasononian, I don't know. So sometimes they're going to give you examples that aren't really even close to what you need, and that's what it's saying. So be careful what you choose.
This approach is typically not very successful and easily produces nonsense suggestions that only wind up adding steps to the globaling process. In contrast, Total Eclipse Global Magic is a sophisticated blend of several powerful tools. It's amazingly accurate and it requires no extra steps. Here, with one button, I've marked 4 steno strokes for a global replacement. Eclipse automatically generates a short list of suggestions.
And you see how it does that? Once you have the strokes up there, it starts guessing what you want, close to what your steno is. Okay, so it's going to start guessing with the stroke that you have, and it may not be it. Well, don't freak out. It's not that big of a deal. It's probably going to add a prompt in here, and then you just start typing, and it just, but if the prompt is over here and it doesn't allow you to type, no big deal. You back it up and put the right word in there, okay? Make sure that it's in. If you want it in a job dictionary, main dictionary, that's the most important thing too, okay?
Using intelligent phonetics. No need to type or press the Alt key or scroll or use the mouse.
And that's what they're saying right there, is when it is correct, you don't have to type the whole thing in. If it's like, oh yeah, that's how you spell it. It's Impaima, okay, or whatever. You don't have to type that whole thing in. You select number 1. It automatically puts it in there. It's going to ask you if you want it in the main dictionary, Job dictionary, select the right one, click OK, good to go. So that's what makes it easier right there, is just selecting the number.
Mouse. Glance at the list, press 1, then either press Enter or place this in any dictionary I need. Total Eclipse understands it's easy to drag or drop keys when you're writing complicated steno like vancomycin. A glance at the list, the right choice jumps out at me. Choice 1. I won't put this in a dictionary, but I'll just apply it to the rest of the job. So your steno doesn't have to be perfect to take advantage of global magic.
You see what it's saying? You don't have to stroke it correctly every time in order for global magic to work, okay? Now it may not come up and it may show your steno right here, but since you've already corrected it right here, steno magic over here is probably going to have it as number 1. That, you know, maybe you did Vanco with K-O-E, my cis, okay? Or it should have been my sin, but they have cis. But they said, you know what, last time you did this, and you globaled it as this, now it's selection number 1. But they leave it kind of like this, saying, well, did you mean something different? And if you did, then you need to global it, and then just put in the correct one, because you did a K-O, okay, instead of vancomycin, okay? Does that make sense to you guys?
This time I dragged in the number bar. Total Eclipse understands. Choice 1 and Enter.
You see what it did right there? Like sometimes you'll be going so fast.
Global magic. This time,
you know, and you meant to do assume, if that's the way, if that's your shortcut for assume, and you did 150U78, which is assume, but you just hit the number bar or whatever, it's going to give it to you as one of the things saying, well, these are the numbers, not necessarily all put together. Maybe you did mean to hit 150U78. Probably not. But if you did, then it put it in there. And if not, then it gave it to you.
I dragged in the number bar. Total Eclipse.
As one of the selections, all you do is press number 1. It puts assume in there. Okay? It doesn't really open the, you know, the bar or whatever. You can global it if you want to. There's really usually no need, because over here in the global magic, it's probably going to have these selections anyway. So all you do is hit number 1, put assume in there. Or maybe you meant to write sum 15. I don't know. You hit number 5 then, if that's what you meant to do. Or maybe it was sum u. Maybe. You know, so if it dragged together and that's what you meant to hit, no big deal. You press 0 on sum u and it puts it in there.
Understands. Choice 1 and Enter. Total Eclipse understands steno stacking. Choice 1. The suffix s followed by.
And it understands steno stacking. That's exactly what I was talking about on the is it is. It already starts giving me is it is, sit. Okay? But if you don't put it in there, if you don't global it one time, then it's not going to know what to do. So the more you start using the software, it knows how you write, and it knows what you're doing. So don't always use in for insert and just use it as a word processing machine where you're just typing stuff in on the stuff that you do all the time. Like if you do, what is this?
It's supposed to be.
There are many cities
you have
worked in, okay? So it's going to give you the closest selection. Oh, it's going to be number 1. It's number 1. It's a suffix s with you have, and look how it's going to change it.
You have. We'll see it applied with intelligent spelling.
You see what it did? And city was C-I-T-Y. And you see what it did? You selected number 1, it automatically changed it to IES. You don't have to do that. And that's exactly with hyperkey W. So if you're right here and it's like, oh man, I meant to write cities or whatever, you do hyperkey W, select S, makes it plural, it already does it. You don't have to add the IES. It already does it for you. It knows what to do, okay? It's thinking for you. You don't have to overthink the software, okay? Does that make sense?
Adjustments. How many times do you retype text as you're defining different ways of writing new names or terms in a job? Here I have a job dictionary entry for Tetra Technologies. The next time I wrote it, it's stacked with the period. No problem. Total Eclipse understands steno stacking.
You see what it's saying? It already understands what you're doing, okay? And it's already thinking ahead of what you're gonna do, all right? So this time it was, you stroked it correctly this time, but this time you just stacked it with the period. No big deal. It's gonna ask you, did you just mean Tetra Technologies and actually put in the FPLT? I mean the FPL? That's a lot. But yeah, maybe. Maybe you just did. Maybe you drug your 3 other fingers. My Lord. But if you did, no big deal. It's gonna ask you, okay, did you mean Tetra Technologies? Or did you stack it with the period and that's what you meant to do? Then that's okay. But if you didn't, you know, if you did, then you select number 2, and it puts a period there. And if you didn't, then you select number 1.
Choice 2, and it automatically offers to place this capitalized text in the job dictionary. Enter. Most of the time, you'll probably find that the suggestion you need is at the top of the list. But if Eclipse has not guessed properly, just start typing.
See? Most of the time, and it is, it's going to get really close if it doesn't guess it. It's going to get really close to probably what you meant. Or, bless you, or it's going to be really close to what you stroked to something else. You know, like maybe you were trying to stroke member right here, MEB. Not member as in, you member. Not that member, like a member of a club, like remember, okay? But member, 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 okay? And maybe you meant to stroke member. No big deal. It may give it to you as one of the, I don't know if it did or not.
Most of the time, you'll probably find that the suggestion you need is at the top of the list. But if Eclipse has not guessed properly, just start typing. No additional steps are needed to make the list. But if Eclipse...
Let me see. No, see, it didn't really give it to you as 1 because it's MEP. You know, and it should have been, you know, maybe it was MEB. Or maybe you meant to stroke men. Forgive men. And there it is, number 8. You press number 8, no big deal. So it starts guessing for you. Pretty close to what you've already typed. All right? So you don't have to go through this whole process of globaling everything every time. All you do is just select numbers and it does it for you. Just boom, boom, boom. You know, so if you misstroked a little bit, it's no big deal. Okay?
Has not guessed properly, just start typing. No additional steps are needed to make the glance list disappear. A quick note, a little tweaking of your phonetics table can really help Total Eclipse the list. But if Eclipse has not guessed properly, just start typing. No additional steps are needed to make the glance list disappear. A quick note, a little tweaking of your phonetics table can really help Total Eclipse tune in to your writing style. Although Global Magic combines many sophisticated features, it's easy to use. Even formatting of your phonetics table can retyping. No additional steps are needed to make the glance list disappear. A quick note, a little tweaking of your phonetics table can really help Total Eclipse tune in to your writing style. Although Global Magic combines many sophisticated features, it's easy to use. Even for editing from the steno keyboard. It can help you to quickly read your steno, greatly reduce your typing, and the more you use it, the better it gets.
Any questions there? Pretty self-explanatory stuff, I mean, now. But all it's going to do is just help you the more that you use it, okay? And that's really what they're saying there, is you're not going to have to guess as much anymore. It's going to guess how you're writing because of the choices that you've made through the software, okay?
Let's see some of the choices that AutoMagic offers for dealing with untranslates and global replacements. In 2006, Eclipse introduced Global Magic. Just mark your notes and pick a choice off a list. It's that easy. You can still use the powerful and efficient globaling dialog, but it takes less steps to use AutoMagic. As soon as
And see, what they're telling you guys right there is that once you put it in one time, now it's going to start guessing what you want to do, okay? Now you don't have to do it again. Like say you did R, throw, and maybe you did SKOEP, and then IB. Well, IB, it should have been IK, but it's they put IB. Well, they're saying, well, we left it like that because it's different. You stroked it differently. You left one letter out. No big deal. But it gives it to you as one of the options. So now all you have to do is press number 3, because what you meant to stroke was arthroscopic, and this little 4 right here tells you that it was 4 strokes. That's what that little number is. Okay? So if you have like a little number over here and it has 2, then that's what it means. It's 2 strokes. Okay?
As I put my cursor on the first part of this string that means arthroscopic, Eclipse prepared a 4-stroke stenoglobal. That's what the 4 within parentheses means. And I didn't even have to mark text first, so that saved me several steps. It's choice 3 on the AutoMagic list, so I'll press 3. Now I can press 1 or 2 if I want this definition to go into my main or job dictionary.
You see what it's telling you there? So all you do is pick, do you want it to go into main dictionary, other dictionary, just this document, never mind. You just want it at that one time. Okay?
I would press 3 if I want to browse to another dictionary. Pressing 4 would apply this global to this document without creating a dictionary entry, what Eclipse users call a trash global. And if I press 5 or the escape key or simply move my cursor, then that will mean this was simply a local replacement. In other words, creating a global for this technical word took only 1 or 2 steps and involved no typing at all. Here's a 2-stroke untranslate that means garage. I don't...
See, and I was telling you, now it has the 2, so it means 2 strokes right there. It's already guessing what it thinks you meant to stroke there, or what it's closest to. But I mean, it could be any of a number of things. It could have been gay, good, gave, you know, and you just stroked it incorrectly, but your cursor is right here. So what it's reading is kind of this first stroke on some of these, and then it's looking past it at this one here, because it has a little number 2 right there. So it tells you it's 2 strokes. Okay, so that's what it's reading. It's not reading the GA as garage. It's reading the GA with Raj, because it has the number 2. Okay?
Have to start off by marking my notes. Just place my cursor on the first stroke and pick choice 3 from the AutoMagic list. And now press a number to finish making this global replacement. Again, that would take only 1 or 2 steps. I didn't have to mark notes, and I didn't have to type anything at all. Eclipse Translation Magic does a very good job of understanding things that are not even in your dictionary.
And that's what it's telling you right there. You know, if you have things that aren't in your dictionary, you know, it's not Surrey, okay? But it's already guessing what it might be. Was it surgery? Sugary? And the little 2's tell you it was the 2 strokes. Or was it surge, which it could have been, you left off the G, and with the prefix RE. Okay? Y'all see that? Slick? So it's always guessing ahead, okay? So you want to be careful the way that you do your prefixes and suffixes, okay? So like RE is always going to be usually your prefix, and usually RI is your suffix, okay? But sometimes you go so fast that sometimes you do drag that U and it's RI and you meant it. So what it's going to do is it's always going to put it on the last word because it's reading the RI that it should go on as a suffix, okay? So be careful the way you do that.
But sometimes the guesses can be incorrect. If so, take a look at the top of the AutoMagic list. You'll find additional choices there, and the one you need will probably be right at the top of the list. These are just some of the ways in which AutoMagic helps you deal with untranslates and global replacements with the minimum number of steps.
So it's just trying to help you minimize steps. Globaling, typing in, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you just hit number one now, number two, whichever one it is, whichever selection you need, and just go on about your business. Don't be worrying about the rest of that, okay?
Eclipse is famous for intelligent conflict resolution. Let's see how it works. Here, the word table is an untranslate, although it's been intelligently guessed. I'll define it as a conflict. A backslash will separate each conflict choice from the next.
This is very important right here, guys. Very, very, very important.
If you do it the wrong way, it will literally write
If you
that
do it the
whole thing
wrong
when you
way,
write
it literally writes that out every time. And when you choose number one, it puts number one. Okay? It puts a number one in there. So it doesn't select it or whatever. So you need this backslash. Okay? Not the forward slash. Is that what? Yeah.
It is backslash forward slash.
Yeah. So you need the backslash. So remember that. If you're going to create a conflict, remember that. Write that down.
Or
Or
no,
don't,
because I did it
whatever.
the wrong way one time and it came out and I was like, oh no. Go back
Yeah.
in my dictionary and change it.
Exactly. I did it too. I mean, the first time I messed with it, I did the same thing. Okay, and I did it wrong. You know, and it's no big deal. You just go through and global it again, and then you just change it back.
You would need to put the brackets with the number in there, is that what?
No, it's going to tell you why that's in there.
Oh, okay.
It's going to tell you why that's in there.
But I know
And
that
it's-
there's, sorry.
It's for a reason, because it's telling you, and I'm going to let them explain it, and then I'll explain it to you.
Will separate each conflict choice from the next. I'll also include a command that tells the system that if a number follows, the number should be in numeral form, not written form. This conflict will go in my...
So what they're telling you right here is, where is your table? Okay? Well, table doesn't need to be capitalized, okay? Because it's just asking where your table is. That follows table 12 in the book. Now they're talking about a specific table. It's table 12. So it needs to be capitalized when it's with a number. And this is the way you do it. Okay? Write this down. Or take a very good mental note of this. Because if you mess this thing up, it's not going to do it. Okay? So say you put small t over here and you do this with the number, it's going to do it like that. So you put the capital T and say you put the number sign outside of these brackets with the N in the middle, it's not going to do it again.
Has to go
It has to go like this,
with no spaces.
with no spaces. Okay? Got that?
I've messed up my dictionary many a time by adding a space
And it can.
and a slash the wrong
It
way.
really can.
main dictionary. This will actually be two conflicts back to back. Your is a conflict that was resolved by the computer. Here, choice 1 is correct. Here you see that you can have different colors to display the conflicts that you yourself have picked, as opposed to those that the computer has picked.
You see what they're talking about there? So the ones that the computer has picked, that has gone through and you've done it enough times, that it knows how you're writing, is going to be in a different color. So you know it's a conflict, and it conflicts with the yeah, with the contraction. With the contraction your, okay? So that's why it's in different colors, okay?
And those that have yet to be resolved. You also notice that the dictionary indicates that Eclipse Artificial Intelligence has learned one rule for resolving this conflict in the future.
So if you want to go into your dictionary and see, you know what, how many times has it fixed it for me? So it'll tell you. It'll tell you what the entry is, what the entry number is, what the entry is, what your conflict is, and how many times you've resolved it. Okay?
Future. Each time you select a conflict choice, Eclipse can learn from your editing. The more you use it, the smarter it gets.
Did you hear what that thing just said? What I've been preaching to you guys since the beginning. The more you use it, the more it knows how you write, and it starts guessing the correct things as to how you write. Okay?
Faster because it most of the time guesses correctly now, so it's an easier process.
Absolutely.
Each time you select a conflict choice, Eclipse can learn from your editing. The more you use it, the smarter it gets. You can always select a different conflict choice if necessary. The number for each choice is displayed in the status bar at the low.
So if you have different ways that you can do it, a lot of times it'll give it to you down here in the status bar. Okay? So all you do is say in the book, doctor, and say it was that. It was number 1. Number 1 was up here. But you needed number 3 because it's talking to the doctor, a specific doctor. Okay? It's not just talking about a doctor, it's talking to the doctor. So it needs to be capitalized because you're talking to a specific person. Okay? So you just select number 3, puts it in there, and capitalizes it. Or you can just go through and press A, and it will capitalize it there anyway in hyperkeys. You see?
Lower left of your screen. But you can also right-click on a conflict to see its choices.
So if there is a conflict, all you do is right-click on it, and it'll give you the other choices too. Okay? Kind of a longer.
Has it on the side already.
Yeah, and usually it will. I mean, it will have it in the
It's kind of repetitive.
and it is. It's just showing you different ways of doing it. So if you know if you forget, you know, whatever, it's like, oh, what was that? And you accidentally turned off global magic or whatever.
There's still other ways that
Yeah, there's still other ways. You just right click on it, or it's going to be down here in the status bar. Okay? So it just gives you different ways of looking at it.
Pick the one that is correct.
It didn't, well, I have a question because it really didn't touch on it very much. I know that for the example that I used with those brackets to have the number sign, for it to insert a numeral number after the word table, capitalized, right? But, so I have a conflict in my computer for there, and there, because I stroke it all the same way I do. I know you're not supposed to, but that's the only conflict that I actually created for myself because it's just faster for me to do it that way. But I don't remember how I did it. I know that you use the brackets for something. I use the backslash,
Yeah.
and then the brackets are only to give it a command, like an additional command.
Yeah, an additional
So the
command.
backslashes themselves should be the ones that actually
Yeah.
create the conflict.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the brackets tell it to do something totally different. Okay? Was that what you asked?
It's like an additional command.
Oh, yeah.
But what creates the conflict itself
Is
is
the
the
backslash.
backslashes. And the backslashes have to start in the very beginning. You have to put the backslash in the beginning first.
No spaces.
Because if you don't, then it doesn't know. It doesn't know.
But when you write it, don't ask me how, but if you add a space anywhere in there, it won't come out
It's,
correctly.
yeah. do it exactly the way it's telling you to do it. With the first backslash, which tells it already, it's already a conflict. No spaces in between. The word, next backslash, the word, next backslash, the word. Does yours work?
For there, and there? Oh, yeah.
Good.
And it tells you, it tries to guess which one to use. Sometimes it's not always right because I mess up the sentence.
Yeah.
Before, but yeah.
But it starts getting pretty good.
It does. But
It
sometimes
start-
you have to go in and change it, like
Yeah.
2 or 3.
Mm-hmm. Any questions about that? Oh, you can even put them in here with punctuation. So if you know that you usually do it, you can put it in there with punctuation. Be careful with that.
Brackets.
One, the brackets, but two, be careful with putting punctuation in something that you may not use it like that all the time. Okay? But if you stack your punctuation with it, then this is how you define it. Okay?
Every once in a while I'll do my yes with a comma, and that's my for attorney too, and it'll come over. when I
Oh,
stack it.
really?
Every once in a while, because it thinks it's trying to auto magic guess, even though there's an E in it, it thinks that I'm doing attorney
Yeah.
4. I'm like,
And that's what is kind of different with my symbols. You know, so if you do that, I mean, all you have to do is just hit it correctly every time. As long as you hit it correctly every time, then you can global it like that and it'll come out.
every once in a while I'll stack it during the test. I'm like, attorney
Yeah.
4, but I know that's what it is when I
But if you
do it.
even stack a little bit, then you may want to, not do it. But if you do the yes with a comma, yes with a period, stuff like that, automatically to save that one stroke, then that's how you define it. Okay? Okay, now we're going to do colors.
Let's see how Eclipse gives you total control over your display colors. Colors. Color selections are not just for expressing your individuality. This example uses one color for translated text, another for text that was typed in, and a third for text that was added by the scopist.
You see how you can do all of that stuff differently? So if your scopist comes in and starts, doing stuff and adding stuff, then you know what he or she added because it's in a different color. Okay? So you can do typed in text, translated text, totally different colors. Okay?
These two colors distinguish a conflict that was resolved by the computer and one that was resolved by the user.
Did y'all see that? And you want them different colors so that you know. And don't worry about the colors because it's only going to come up in your
Let's
copy.
Yeah, when you
So when you print it, it's going to come out all black and white. Okay, so you don't have to worry about any of that other stuff. Okay, that it's different colors and that the the byline is different color than from the colloquy line or whatever. Okay, you don't have to worry about that. All of that stuff is just for you.
I don't understand how the scope is, how would their, whatever they write in, change the color? Wouldn't it think that it was just me editing it, and then it would be my normal item text color?
It's the same thing. It just automatically thinks that you have a scopist. Okay, so every time you insert and start typing stuff, it's going to come in a different color.
So basically,
It's what it's
we know
saying.
that we're not the ones doing it. It would be the scopist who's editing ourselves, so we know it's
Yeah.
that person.
So if you go through there and proof it on the screen, then you're going to know. But if you print it, you're not going to know. It's not going to come out in a different color. But when you go through and look at the job on the computer, then you'll know what what your Scopus is added or not added. You know what I'm saying?
It's like, because we're not proofing it ourselves, we're giving it to a Scopus, so we know
But
that
I'm
we.
saying, if I'm transcribing, I go in and I say, oh, I was supposed to fix that, and I just backspace and write something real quick, that comes out blue. So when I send it to my Scopus and they write something, it's gonna come out blue too.
Yeah.
So how do I know what I did or what they did?
Do you really want to?
Well, that's what it's saying.
No, it's saying your Scopus, as in your Scopus is going to do all of your work. That's what it's saying. So really what it's saying right here is that anytime you insert and you start typing, then you're going to know what you did. It's going to be a different color. This thing just automatically assumes that you have a Scopus and you're going to do all of your work through a Scopus. Okay? So it's not any different than what you're doing. It's more like an insert mode. But they just kind of use it as a Scopus as the insert mode. Okay? So no, it's not going to know that it's smart, but it's not that smart. So it's more of the insert mode.
Was resolved by the user. Let's change the color for form fields. Settings, display, color selections. Form fields are just one of more than 20 items.
Did y'all get that? Y'all know how to go into user settings? How do you go into user settings? Oh man.
Wait, don't tell me. You?
Yes.
Say L of you as a greatest.
Alt U. Alt U goes into user settings, display, and then down here it says colors. Okay, I'll back it up just a little bit. See how it says color selections? So you can do the foreground, the background, and all different kind of colors, okay? You can even display all the text in one color. So if you don't want it to change and you just want it all to be one color and you don't really care, click that box right there. All right? But if not, then you open this window and it gives you a myriad of stuff that you can change, okay?
Form fields are just one of more than 20 items for which you can assign a background and a foreground color. Let's change the background color. You can select from one of many basic colors or define a custom color and then add it.
You can, guys, you can mess with this thing and you can do all kinds of junk, okay? And you can go through and select your own shade of green, moving this arrow and all, yeah. You can, yeah. See how it says, you know, the hue, red, green, all of that stuff? Guys, do what you want, okay? All I'm saying is be careful with it, okay? Go in there, mess with it. You can mess with it all you want or whatever, but just be careful with it. Remember what the colors are before you changed it and make sure that it doesn't conflict with something else, okay?
Select it and say OK. But you also have the option to display all text in one color. This is a quick way to simplify the appearance of your screen, and it's a very popular feature for those who do real-time writing for the hearing impaired, CART writers.
That's just how you do it, okay? So that's how you change your colors. User settings, colors, and then select whatever you want to change the colors to.
Here's an important tip concerning Eclipse Artificial Intelligence. It only learns new rules when you place your cursor on a conflict and pick the correct choice. If instead you just place your cursor on a conflict and just type new text, Eclipse learns nothing.
Did you hear what it just said? What I've been preaching to you guys from the beginning.
Not a word processor.
Yeah, every time you use in, which sometimes you're going to need to. You know, say you just drop some text or whatever, you just need to type some stuff in, no big deal. But the software learned nothing just then with what you did. Zero. Okay? The more you use the hyper keys, speed keys, global magic, any of that stuff, that's when it's learning how you're writing, okay? So you want to use the software as much as you can, but you don't want to use it on silly things where you know it's like, well, I'll just hit this right here. Well, it's going to remember what you did. So if you're hitting the wrong thing, be careful, you know?
In other words, Eclipse can learn when you pick a conflict, but not when you type over it. Also, you should make your first conflict choice the more likely one. Then, in the Translate section of your user settings, you'll be able to ask Eclipse to pick the first choice when it otherwise would not know how to resolve a conflict.
User settings again, okay? So you can have it automatically pick the first one. So on the there, and there, if you use THERE, you think 90% of the time, this might be good. I probably wouldn't do it, you know, because you have 3 choices there. And I doubt, you know, you're going to use one that much more than the other. So I don't know that I would have it do the first pick. Okay, just pick it yourself. Okay?
Sometimes a conflict will occur in an exceptional context, and you'll want to pick Sometimes a conflict will occur in an exceptional context, and you'll want to pick a conflict choice but not teach a context rule. If so, just hold down the Shift key and press the conflict choice number. That will take care of the exception without affecting what the artificial intelligence has learned.
Y'all understand what it said just then? Slick? Huh?
Yeah.
Really? What did it say?
No.
That's what I figured. If you want to change it and you don't want it to go into your artificial intelligence as it remembering what you're doing, then you push the shift. Okay? Shift and the number. I'll play it again. And it's just going to change it, and it's not going to remember what it did. Okay?
If so, just hold down the Shift key and press the conflict choice number. That will take care of the exception without affecting what the artificial intelligence has learned. Much more could be said about conflicts, but this is the subject of a separate in-depth ePower video tutorial that includes a conflicts kit with dictionaries that contain hundreds of entries that have already learned how to resolve beautifully. So this is a great way to take full advantage of Eclipse translation magic.
So here it's your turn. And go through and do some of that stuff real quick. And pick, you had a complaint about your on-the-job training. Which one would that be?
On the job training, it would be the number 3. No, 1, 2,
Number 2. Hyphenated. On-the-job training. There's only 2 conflicts there. On the job or on the job training.
Mine was all together. I have your on the job training.
Yeah,
Oh.
mine's,
Sorry.
yeah, it's already, you've already chosen the yours, so like, oh.
Yeah. So you go to the next conflict, so what's it supposed to be here?
That's number 3. 1, 2, 3, 4.
That
Number
one
4.
has 2 commas.
4.
1,
It's the last
2,
one, because there's a question.
3, 4. Which one is it?
4. Am I wrong? On the job training, comma, sir.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. So you press C. Which one is it there?
first one?
Yes.
It's not describing,
Number 1.
I did.
it's hard when they're all together like.
So if you do after and of, you can do them together. On the job, I did after my very first class.
Okay.
After my, is it first class?
First,
it's not a
the
plane
first one
seat.
is not first class.
Yeah, it's not a
Airline.
plane seat. It's just a, after the first. So you just go through and select the numbers. Okay? Mess with that, guys. We're going to go through there and mess with that a little bit.